Hey, welcome back. It's Heckman. This week we're looking at UFC Sweden June 1st for DraftKings. Missed the Rochester card. I was away on a boys' weekend in Nashville. Had a great time. Never been there before. Awesome city. But we're back this week for some more predictions and strategy for DraftKings. So this week we have 12 fights on the card. Unfortunately, the Latifi Ozdemir fight got canceled. I was looking forward to seeing that one, but still 12 more great fights. I'm going to try to keep this video about 20-25 minutes in length. As a reminder, we want to try to score around 100 points per selection. That'll give you around 600 points, and hopefully that'll put you in the running. I focus on the GPPs, not so much the cash games. We're trying to win the big money. For example, what you're looking at here, I think this one is about $25,000 on a $15 entry. So that's what we're going to focus on, trying to score the optimal points. Cash games, you're going to want to, you don't mind necessarily going a little safer, trying to get that winner. Trying to score some points, but with the GPPs, you want to try to make your selections with the guys that have the most upside for points, KOs, submissions, TKOs, whatever. So, looking at the first fight, it's the main event: Alexander Gustafson against Anthony Smith. I think your play here is for GPP. You want to, if you're going to play multiple cards, you're going to want to maybe play both sides, because the winner of this fight is probably going to score close to 100 points, because it's a 5-round fight. With respect to Gustafson, he's got the advantage pretty much everywhere. He's a better striker. He's a better wrestler. He's better with the BJJ over Smith. So, he's the clear favorite. He's minus 330 in Vegas. Anthony Smith is plus 270 in Vegas. But I think the odds probably are a little bit too disparate in what reality is. I think that the fight's probably going to be closer than the odds are suggesting. But you probably want to have both. I think Gustafson is going to win the fight, maybe by a late finish or a decision. But I think you want to have Smith on a couple of cards as well. So if you're playing maybe 10 cards, for example, maybe you want Smith on 2 cards, 2 or 3 cards at the most, and play Gus on the others. But I think you got to play this fight for GPP purposes. Anthony Smith is an improving fighter, so he's somebody at $6,900 can also give you a lot of salary relief for other fighters that you may like. All right, so but prediction for this fight is Gustafson by a late stoppage or possibly by decision. All right, next fight. Should be a very close fight. It's a 50-50 fight. Chris Fishgold against Makwan Amirkhani. Both of these guys are, their strengths are really wrestling. And I think Fishgold is probably the better striker. And he's a much more aggressive on his feet. So he's got the upside for a possible early knockout, which could get you those 100 points. He's also a strong wrestler, but it's a fight that's a 50-50 fight. I mean, whoever you choose, I mean, if you get it right, you're probably going to be maybe more lucky than necessarily good here, because this fight really could go either way. Fishgold is a minus 115 favorite in Vegas, and Amirkhani is a minus 105 favorite. So when you look at those odds and you compare the prices for DraftKings, Fishgold at 8,300 is not necessarily as good a value as Amirkhani is at 7,900. Amirkhani's a very strong wrestler. Both of these guys have bad takedown defense. And they both have questionable cardio, especially Fishgold. If he doesn't take Amirkhani out in the first round, I can see Amirkhani grounding out a decision win here. So probably, I think Amirkhani might win this fight. I think he has the better chance to win this fight if he survives the early aggressive striking of Fishgold in the first round. But I'm not sure that he's going to be able to finish Fishgold. So if you're going to play Amirkhani, I don't think you should expect more than 70 to 80 points on a decision win. I do think Amirkhani will win. That's going to be my prediction. I think if you want the upside for 100 points, though, Fishgold has the upside for an early finish. But I'm not confident in that at all. I think Amirkhani's probably going to win this fight. So it's a fight that, it's a real 50-50 fight. So it's hard to make a prediction. And for DraftKings purposes, if you're going to go with upside for 100 points, probably Fishgold. But if you want to be a little bit safer, I think Amirkhani is probably the play. Okay, next fight. Leonardo Santos hasn't fought in 3 years, I believe, against Stevie Ray. Leonardo Santos is a minus 200 Vegas favorite. Stevie Ray is plus 170. And Leonardo Santos is, on paper, the better fighter pretty much everywhere here. The only problem is that he's 39 years old, and he hasn't fought in quite some time, close to 3 years. This is really a striker versus a grappler matchup. But Santos is also very good on his feet. Santos has great BJJ. He's got good offensive wrestling. He has a size and reach advantage. On paper, he's just a better fighter. But he hasn't fought, like I said, in over 2 years. And there's lots of questions with this inactivity. I think he should win the fight. But at $9,200, I'm not so confident that, he's a guy that you want to play at that price. Whereas Stevie Ray, he's a striker, he's younger, and at $7,000, he might be a better DraftKings punt here than Santos. So if you're going to play anybody, I think on this particular fight, I would probably play Stevie Ray as a punt. I do think Santos should win the fight, probably win the fight by a decision. But at $9,200 and him having not fought in 3 years, I think there's probably better plays at the higher end of the price range. But prediction will be Santos by decision. Stevie Ray I might play on a card or two as a DraftKings punt, though. All right, next fight. Tanya Evinger against Lena Landsberg. Tanya is the clear favorite here. She's minus 275 in Vegas. Lena is plus 235. Evinger is a good wrestler. Landsberg, I think at this point in her career, she's not really UFC caliber. She's a limited fighter. She doesn't really have many skills. She'll like to clinch and kind of grind you against the fence, but that's really all she's about. Whereas Evinger, she can get Landsberg to the ground and probably win this fight by a decision or maybe a ground and pound. Pretty confident in this fight that Evinger is going to win it. So if I was going to play this fight for DraftKings purposes, I think Evanger at 9,000 is not a terrible play. Lena, I don't really have any confidence that she can beat Tanya here, and I'm probably not going to play her at all. Probably just completely fade Lena. Her only real little advantage is that she's Swedish, and I think she's really only on this card because she is Swedish. And they want to get a couple Swedish fighters on this card. So the play here for me, for DraftKings purposes, is Evanger, and I'll be fading Landsberg probably completely. All right, next fight. Very interesting fight. Should be a very entertaining fight. Frank Camacho against Nick Hein. Camacho is a minus 115 favorite, and Nick Hein is a minus 105 favorite. So when you're looking at the DraftKings prices, you can see Camacho is clearly the better value here. He's a slight favorite in Vegas, and he's cheaper for DraftKings purposes. Camacho is a great stand-up fighter. He throws a lot of volume, and he should probably win this fight. The only problem with Camacho is that his cardio is horrible, and he can gas, and that's his real kryptonite, his cardio. He throws an extreme amount of volume. He will take a punch to give a punch. He's bigger than Hein. He has a bigger reach. He has a very good chin. He's a very good technical striker. The fight should probably stay on his feet. He's only 30 years old. He really has the edge everywhere in this fight except for the cardio. This fight is at lightweight, and his cardio issues have been at welterweight. His last fight was at lightweight, and his cardio seemed a little bit better, but he did miss weight by 5 pounds, I think, in that fight. So I'm not sure if he's even going to make weight. I haven't checked the weigh-ins today yet. He is taking this fight on 3 weeks' notice, so that's another issue. On the other hand, Nick Hein, he's 35 years old. He's a veteran. But I just don't really see any real advantage he has over Camacho. And it's really tough to rely on picking a fighter, hoping that the other guy gasses out so that he can take a decision. So for me, I think the play here is going to be Camacho. I think Camacho could possibly knock out Hein, or he can possibly win a decision with a lot of strikes thrown. So I think the play here is going to be Camacho at $8,000, and I'm probably not going to play Hein anywhere. Probably fade Hein altogether. All right, next fight. Alexander Rakic against Jimmy Manuwa. This should be a really interesting fight. Rakic is minus 210 favorite in Vegas. Jimmy Manuwa is plus 175 in Vegas. And I think this fight should probably be a little bit closer than the Vegas odds suggest. Simply because Manuwa's been in there with really the best of the best at light heavyweight. He's fought Santos, Blachowicz, Ozdemir, Anderson, St. Preux, Gustafson, Johnson. So he's been in there with the best of the best. He's got the experience, and he has a great left hook. And Rakic was dropped by Devin Clark with a left hook, even though he did come through and finish that fight. So the fight should be a really interesting fight. I think you got to play Manoa maybe on 1 or 2 in the event that, that left hook connects. But I do like Rakic here. He's bigger. He's much bigger, actually, than Manoa. And this might even be considered a setup fight for him against a named fighter. But I'm not extremely confident that Rakic is going to come through, just because Manoa does have the experience. And he's got that left hand. You never know. But prediction here will be Rakic. I think he can possibly knock out Manoa. Because Manoa's chin is certainly a concern as well. The fight also probably will stay on its feet, and Rakic throws a lot of volume. But for this fight, my prediction is going to be Rakic, maybe by a second round KO. So I think you got to play both sides. I will have more of Rakic. I might have Manoa on 1 or 2. But I like Rakic here. And he's got that upside for 100 points. All right. Next fight. Duda Santana against Bea Malecki. Bea Malecki is a Swedish fighter. We saw her on The Ultimate Fighter. She's a Muay Thai fighter. She has decent takedown defense. She's very long. She's tall. She's got good kickboxing. And here, she's the favorite in Vegas at minus 125. Duda is plus 105. But you can see that for DraftKings purposes, Duda is much more expensive. She's at 8,600. Whereas Bea is only at 7,600. So clearly Vegas is not agreeing with DraftKings prices here, which makes Bea a very good punt play for DraftKings purposes when you're comparing the Vegas odds to the prices with DraftKings. The other thing about Duda is that this is her first fight in the UFC. She's only 3-0 in other promotions, and my understanding is that she might be Cowboy Oliveira's sister. I'm not sure. It's what I've been seeing on the internet. Not sure if it's true. The thing about Duda is that she's a stand-up fighter. From my research, she's a good technical striker. She likes to keep at range and fight at range, whereas Bea is more of a Muay Thai fighter. She's going to look to get in close. So this is really going to be an issue of styles. Who's going to impose their will? Is Bea going to be able to get inside, get that clinch, get those kicks, and impose her will, or is Duda going to be able to keep her at distance, keep her at range, although Bea is very long, and strike? There's just not enough information for me here on Duda to comfortably select her at 8,600 for DraftKings. So I would suggest fading Duda altogether, just because we don't know enough about her. And she's just too expensive at $8,600. So the play here for me is Bea at 7,600 or pass. And I actually think Bea can win this fight by decision. So that's going to be my prediction, Bea by decision. All right, next fight. Hadzovic against Giagos. I like Hadzovic here. He's a good striker. In Vegas, he's a minus 170 favorite. And Giagos is a plus 150 underdog at 7,100. Giagos is going to need to take this fight to the ground and hopefully uses his top game to just ground out Hadzovic. If this fight stays on its feet, Hadzovic should pick him apart. He's a much better striker. He has got the ability to score 100 points for you here with a knockout. So I'm going to have Hadzovic on on some of my cards, definitely. Giagos, like I said, he's going to need to get Hadzovic to the ground. Giagos' problem is that besides his disadvantage on the feet is his cardio. He tends to fade as the fight goes on. But he is going to be trying to get takedowns, and that could also expend a lot of energy. So it's hard to say. I mean, they're both experienced fighters. Giagos has over 20 pro fights. But he's going to need to get him on the ground. If you want to play Giagos as a punt, I don't have a problem with it. If he can get Hadzovic to the ground, there is a path to victory there. I might play Giagos on 1 or 2 cards, but my preferred play here is going to be Hadzovic because I like his 100-point upside. Hadzovic does have somewhat poor takedown defense. Maybe he's improved it. We don't really know. But he has proven that he can get back up when he has been taken down. So Hadzovic to win, maybe by a second round KO. But if you want to play Giagos, thinking maybe you can get him to the ground and ground him out, I wouldn't be mad at you. But the preferred play here is Hadzovic at 9,100. All right, next fight. Sung Bin Jo against Daniel Tamur. Tamur is Swedish. He is the lesser of the Tamur brothers, in case you don't know. He's lost his last 3 fights. I don't really have any confidence in Tamur. He's a plus 120 underdog in Vegas, whereas Joe is a minus 140 favorite. Joe is 9-0. He's Korean. He's training at Tiger Muay Thai, which is a very good camp out of Korea. He likes to fight at kickboxing range. He has amazing cardio, whereas Tamur has terrible cardio. I think Tamur's only chance to possibly win this fight is by an early stoppage in the first round. Otherwise, I think that the longer this fight goes, the more advantage that Joe is going to have. So I think that for me, the play here is Joe. I think he can win a decision, or possibly a third round stoppage. So the 100-point upside is there. Tamur, he just has lots of weaknesses. His striking is okay, but he's got bad takedown defense. Joe probably has a better ground game than Tamur. And I just find it hard to trust Tamur here. So preferred play here is Joe at 8,800. I probably will not play Tamur at all. If you wanted to play him as a DK punt, for the upside that he could possibly finish Joe early, I just don't see it really happening. But I suppose that it's possible an early stoppage. But if it goes past the first round, I think Tamur is going to be really in a lot of trouble. So the preferred player is Joe at 8,800. All right. Next fight, Sergey Kendosko against Rostam Akhman. The odds on this fight are Kendosko at minus 165, and Akhman is a plus 145 underdog in Vegas. Now Akhman is Swedish. He's taking this fight on just 1 week's notice, so that's certainly a concern. Akhman, from my research, he's a better striker than Kendosko, so he has a path to victory if this fight stays on its feet. Kandosko is a much more experienced fighter. He's got over 30 fights under his belt, whereas Ackman is just 6-0. And we don't really know too much about him. The competition, Kandosko's fought much better competition. But Ackman, I think, frankly, might be a decent DraftKings punt play here. Just because he's got that upside with the striking, and if he could KO Kandosko at $7,400, that could make a difference for you in the GPPs with that big upside. He's been a very good amateur. Kandosko is more of a wrestler who can strike, but Kandosko is going to want to get this to the ground. But I'm not too confident in Kandosko at that price at 8,800, even against Ackman, who's coming in on short notice. So my preferred play here for DraftKings purposes would probably be Ackman at 7,400. Kandosko is the rightful favorite, though, in Vegas, and if you wanted to play him in cash games, hoping that he can grind out a win, I think that's fine. I'm not sure if he could really finish Ackman, though. So for GPP, I'm probably going to fade him altogether. But I think Ackman here is the preferred play for GPP purposes. Okay, next fight, Darko Stosic against Devin Clark. Stosic is the plus 100 in Vegas, and you can see he's at $8,700, whereas Devin Clark in Vegas is minus 120 at $7,500. Again, a very big disparity between the Vegas odds and the DraftKings prices. Nevertheless, I think the DraftKings prices are somewhat accurate. I think Stosic probably should be favored here in Vegas as well. But Devin Clark is a good wrestler, and that's where he's going to want to take this fight. He's going to want to take this fight to the ground. He's got a good top game, but he doesn't have a great fight IQ. His cardio is okay, but if this fight stays on the feet, then Clark, he could have a little bit of trouble with Stosic's striking, because Stosic is a good striker. He's got excellent kicks. He's got good technique. He definitely has the edge on the feet. This is really just a classic striker versus grappler fight. Stosic doesn't have high volume, though, as a striker from my research. But he'll mix in his kicks with his low volume punching. His takedown defense is pretty good, too. And even when he gets to the ground, he does have competitive wrestling. I'm leaning Stosic to win here. I think the fight he could finish the fight by KO, which will give him the upside. But I think this fight, if you wanted to have both sides, I wouldn't blame you. Clark at 7,500, and then when you compare them to the Vegas odds, he's a great price. A lot of money is coming in on Clark, apparently, late, which is driving those odds kind of against him for betting purposes. But I think Stosic will probably win this fight. I'm going to predict a third round KO Stosic. But if you wanted to play Clark as a DK punt, I think it's a perfectly decent play. Okay, last fight, Joel Alvarez against Danilo Bellarado. This fight, take a look at the odds here. Alvarez is a minus 115 favorite, and Bellarado is a minus 105 favorite. So when you're looking at the odds, obviously Bellarudo is a much better value for DraftKings purposes when considering the Vegas odds. It's really a true 50-50 fight here. My research on this fight is showing that it's just really a low-level UFC fight. Both guys are really low-level fighters. It's the first fight of the night for a reason. Bellarudo probably isn't even UFC caliber, which gives Alvarez a chance to win this fight. This fight probably will play out on the ground. Both like to get to the ground. Bellarudo's gonna want to wrestle and stay on top, get that top pressure. Alvarez is a submission specialist. He's gonna look to maybe even fight from his back and look for a submission on the ground. He's not great on his feet. This fight's just really hard to call. So if you're looking at the DraftKings prices and you're looking at the Vegas odds, I think Bellarudo is the clear choice here for value purposes. But I'm not confident in either one of these guys to win. And I don't think anyone can be. Nobody really knows what's going to happen here. So it's a fight that I'm not confident in Alvarez at 8,500. Just because, he's just not proven himself that he deserves to be, $800 more than Bellarudo. Whereas Bellarudo, if you are looking for a cheaper fighter, a punt play to mix in with some of your more confident plays, to mix and match and hopefully find that right combination, I think Bellarudo at 7,700 is okay as a punt. So preferred play here is Bellarudo. It's a toss-up who's going to win this fight. I'll say Bellarudo by decision, but could be a split decision. It's going to be that close. So that's it, guys and girls. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget, get your lineups in. Should be a fun card. Wish you luck, and let's get it.